Hello, my name is Jubo, and today I want to re-upload. Well, not re-upload, and the reason was because my other channel, the original one, I forgot the password. You might say. So I want to redo the video game or re-upload, whatever the hell it's called, but um. So it's called School Problems. So here we go. So lately, I'm in my 4th year of high school, which is a senior, you know. So, I have okay credits. They're not like the best of like those Victorian credits, they're all good, or some of them are 20 something up in credit. But the funny thing is what I hate. I know a lot of people make videos about this. I want to be included in one from my personal experience. So here are some things I noticed in school over the years. Because let's start from elementary, when we're kids. I know that's where all our favorite memories go and where our childhood started. If some you don't go to like public schools like some of us, majority of us did, it's okay. No shaming, no bullying or cyberbullying they call nowadays, or just physical bullying. But in elementary school, I still remember those fond memories. I know some of you guys do, like I said, like the book fair, the scholastic book fairs. Every once in a while they'll come, and sometimes it sucks to be that kid with no money. Even when your class goes in, you're just there with no money, so you're just scamming through all the books and all the items there. That's what I remembered. And also those career days where you actually meet different jobs, like a dentist, a firefighter. That's what we did, And then there's one time that, and I know it may sound crazy, like be like bullshit, or oh, you're a liar, there's no fucking way, that is severe bullshit. But we actually had a guy who was a black dude, he was from the FBI. He told us what their profession was, and what they do on a daily, because they're always busy, like the police do and the firefighters and hospitals. So I was like, yeah, I remember thinking that was the coolest job. FBI, you're doing Secret Service, like those James Bond movies, like a spy, and you get to do everything. And I remember, for me, I remember the those dance festivals in school, because they used to be so much funded back then, that they will bring like almost 10 to 5 food trucks, if I remember, because this was for like October, those Halloween festivals at school. Or in May, we always had a dance festival 2 times a year. And also another thing that was great is what was it? Field trips. Some of the field trips were like boring already, Like after going through the California Science Center so many times, it becomes boring. And like, whatever. And the elementary school, I know some people have different experience, from what I remember, it's one of the most memorable moments or experience, like I said. Now, let's get to middle school, where I started to see the change over the years. This is when I was coming out of COVID after 2 years. I know some of us, I know there's a video I watched, it's called How COVID Changed Everything. And to be one of those kids, because I finished 6th grade at the time and went to 7th grade, I totally understand some of us are still froze in that mindset. That includes adults too, who are in college, who are in high school, middle school, elementary school, whatever. And I remember the middle school, I remember it was mandatory. And I feel stupid about this saying this, and they were making a mandatory, a mandatory rule that if you don't take the vaccination shots at school or whatever your local doctor, you'll still be schooling online. If you think about it, at the time it was fucked up, because all the kids wanted to go outside, meet their friends. It was cool for 3 months, finally I don't have to deal with people outside. But when COVID hit, it changed the whole world, those third places that I keep hearing the term are trying to close earlier for whatever goddamn reason. And seeing all your favorite shops growing up, all disappearing. It's really sad how it is even afterward. Because in middle school, everybody's trying to act childish and shit. And to this day, I know some of you might relate to it, that the kids nowadays fucking suck, respectfully. Because right now I'm hearing a lot of kids versus teachers fights, or student versus teacher, they get into a physical brawl. And what I'm hearing is that the school violence has increased, which now we're heading to high school, where you're supposed to be matured, right? That's because, on paper, you're supposed to be matured. When some of us haven't head out to the real world yet. And it sucks, to hear that from your parents, because, they're always trying to put bullshit on you, Like, hey, once you're 18, get the fuck out. And if you try to tell them, like, hey, this is not the same as it was 30 or 20 years ago, then they'll take it as a disrespect. Like, and you're crazy. You still gotta leave my house, whatever. I've seen some stories where they get kicked out from their parents, 18, because they consider as an adult, paper, like I said, you're an adult. But in real life, you're not. The only way you become an adult is through experience and wisdom. No, time and experience. There you go. And, get to feel what the world is out there. And like I said, retrieving back is the school violence. It has been increased. School shooting, it has increased. I know there's a big ass topic of it. It goes both ways, in my opinion. They say, it's the parents, it's the boys. No, not the boys. It's the girls or the boys, and it's the parents or whatever. In my opinion, it's like, how do we fail that expectation? I do understand that some kids beat their teachers with reasons, physically or mentally, or they fire them, and the violence. What I mean violence is the physical brawls in high school, middle school, elementary school, whatever. It sucks, because I could imagine kids who are born today, they go to school and they have feared school shooting, because all they have to do is bully the hell out of the person so much that they'll turn to kill you and fist fight you to death, and that's why I keep telling sometimes when, in my head, because these people don't understand, I'm in high school, sometimes in my mind I always have that little mental note saying, hey, be careful, because there's some kids who cannot just take it, who cannot take being, when the bully kid fights back. And that's where the rule comes in, that even if you defended yourself, like Second Amendment, let's put it this way, let's say you defend yourself, you get in trouble because you defend yourself, which in reality it sounds fucked up, because you're now making bullies more normalized, where now you having, and also, before I continue on, for disclaimer, fuck the guidelines for YouTube, so I don't give a shit, there's some kids who committed suicide, that's for the disclaimer, sorry, but there's some kids who commit suicide, and it fucking sucks, but you hear that shit a lot. And then shooting is becoming more normalized, now violence, which is physical brawls, are becoming more normalized. Basically, they're turning into school into prison. That's what I'm trying to say. So it makes no sense how you want kids to defend yourself but also get in trouble, because even good actions have repercussions. That's why some kids turn into villains, or even worse, evil as shit. Because why would you want them to get beat up in order for them to say, oh yeah, the kid is getting beat up, let's calm down the situation, or de-escalate the situation, and that's what I've seen from my experience. I know some people have seen it differently, but, and also another thing, I know it's another topic, is getting a girlfriend in high school. And I still remember, like, high school, what's called those school sweethearts. We're taking serious, I know it may sound crazy, I'll say, but I remember there's a story I watched as a kid about how these two kids, it's a boy and a girl, where their dream was to get married. And it turns out to be true, You see their love story to continue on, And I always thought about that, because we always fed lies about having a girlfriend or a friend in general is easy. But in reality, it's not. Because we always fed the lies that we've been told in school, you know. I'm not gonna lie, you know. Since I don't have one, you know, I'm being honest. Yeah, when Valentine's come, you know, like in school, I sometimes don't go to school that day, you know. For me, it's because, you know, it's fucking miserable, in my opinion. Because imagine you're single, and nowadays, which is becoming more normalized also, and you see kids, my team, in my opinion, showed off that they have girlfriends and shit. It's fucking despicable and miserable. You know, like, who wants to see that shit when you go to school in the morning? You know, that's my opinion. You know. Now the teachers, I know everybody has a big thing to say. Teachers have become more disrespectful because, you know, they don't like the job, or they're trying to get a paycheck, you know. That's all they care about. And the funny thing is, everybody tells them you get paid the same as a fast food worker, you know. There's no way you could get mad at a student for whatever reason it may be. But I understand their side, you know. Because, you know, it all resents back to students too. You know, it's between the gray area. And it becomes a lose-lose situation. Then I must say, and it leaves you in a despair, like, what do you have to do? And you have to stop and think about it for a little bit. And yeah, and also the mannerism is fucking gone. That's what I can say. You know, nobody says bless you in classrooms anymore. Nobody said thank you. You know, I should have known that in middle school, because there was a time where I helped this kid fucking he lost something and help him find it. He just takes it, walk away, and I got pissed and said, hey bro, what you have to say? You know, not to sound like I wanted to fight him, but you know, like, you gotta tell me thanks or something. You know, say thank you, and I'll say you're welcome. You know, that shit pissed me off. And another story time, you know, which was the school violence. You know, but I remember in PE, you know, I hated this kid. You know, and I know he may see this, but you know, I'll just say that that's what his friend gets for what's it called? Not bullying, but you know, testing somebody. And I tell you, once you test these kids in school, you better be fucking ready for the consequence. They'll meet you outside or inside, and that'll affect you. And his name is Iker. You know, and he's the Armenian kid, I remember. And for that, I know he's gonna watch this video, but I remember when you got into a fight with that one kid in PE, And your friend who had long ass hair at the time got knocked out, you know. So now that he goes to the same high school, he's trying to be all fucking cool with everybody and shit. Like, that shit didn't happen. Like, what the fuck? You know, it make no sense. You know, but sorry for the call out, but I just want to say that you better watch out who you fucking testing with. You know, nowadays, now since the Second Amendment's present, they'll come for anybody's ass, including me. You know? So, yeah. So, yeah, that's school problems in general. So, this is Jubal, and see ya.